Hello, welcome to the self-learning platform by Dr. Sushma Singh. Today we start Unit 25, Fascism, and our topic is Fascism and Challenges to Contemporary Life. As pointed out in the very beginning of this unit, fascism did not die with Mussolini and Hitler. In fact, the success of fascism is perceivable in the neo-fascist formation in Britain itself, the mother of liberal democracy. Britain National Party under the leadership of John Tyrrell is re-legitimatizing the fascist agenda for Britain and Europe at large. The recession in Europe during the 1980s and 90s has at least latently provided a fertile ground to neo-fascism. The remedial measures advocated by such groups reek of old fascist perceptions: autarky, corporation, elitism, racialism, primacy of the state, and subordination of the individuals to the state. More dangerously, this neo-fascism legitimates the traditional fascist views on women, forcefully assigned the home front to her. The mission of woman is to be beautiful and to bring children into the world. The female prettified herself for her mate and hatches the eggs for him. This and similar other views frustrate the newer female identity being internalized by women in both Western and non-Western societies. Fascism promises to raise its head whenever democracy, either by accident or design, mismatches development, thereby frustrating the cause of stability and contentment among the people. The binary opposition of us and they resurface and breed intolerance and contempt within a society. The us and they resentment among the ex-colonizer and the ex-colonies still haunts the world. The developing dualism further accentuates the dualistic indigeneity of world community. Racial disharmony has been compounded by religious fundamentalism, which, devastatingly aided by terrorism, breeds on unprecedented fascist temper in the world today. Non-appreciation of the pluralist categories of life seems to rob the very life of its instinct, beauty, and harmony. If these trends are allowed to breed further and escalate unabatingly, a new genre of fascism shall come to stay in the world and distort all that has so far withstood the test of the time. Next point is fascism and evaluation. Fascism as the ideology of war and national expansion, to quote Sabine, was an adventurous philosophy. By no rational calculation either of individual happiness or of tangible national benefit could such a purpose be made plausible. It propagated a transvaluation of values as a political phase for moral cynicism. The foundational thought of Nietzschean fascism, originating from the writing of Sorel, Schweitzer, and Hegel, was often found to be a discomforting puzzle. Select pieces of their writings were picked up to provide a respectful authenticity and expedient solutions required by fascism from time to time. For example, Mussolini, having no time himself, assigned the task of building up a theory of state to Govini, Gentile, who belonged to the Italian school of Hegelian philosophy. Gentile had at hand the Hegelian theory of the state, and not having much time, he used it. Mussolini took what Gentile offered him. The result was adoption of the Hegelian language to cam- camouflage the real intention rather than signifying the substance of Hegelian thought. Noteworthy is the fact that Mussolini, as late as 1920, regarded the state as a curse to mankind. While in power, he had to glorify all things that the state was associated with. In actual governmental performance, fascism did not bring about any significant structural changes in Italy and Germany. Economic social stagnation persisted under fascism. Consequently, fascism strengthened the anarchism of individuals and acted directly contrary to the needs of the country, preventing the modernization of its ancient quasi-feudal structures. Despite the enumerated drawbacks, fascism still holds promise of mass appeal. Whenever anemic conditions prevail, the expedient organizational mechanization of fascism could be adopted by the society, at least as a temporary contemporary facelift, both in European and non European settings. To conclude, fascism does not cater to the entirety of the life processes, despite its misleading spiritual vocabulary and soul gratifying phrases. The fullest of life depends on the planks of the pluralism and tolerism of other lifestyle and thought processes. Life always blossoms in variety, so it warrants a multimedia of flower beds, spreading delicate fragrances and requiring a delicate handling so that hundreds of flowers may bloom and beautify the universe. The sharp and severely cutting edges of fascism cannot nurture such sensitivity and sensibility in any perceivable way. Now, summary of the unit. This unit on fascism enabled us to discern the meaning of fascism, the factors which led to its growth and development, the categories that characterize the fascist worldview, the historical development of fascism, and its operational dynamics. We learned that revolt against rationalism provided to fascism, its desired backdrop. We also noticed that racialism, elitism, corporation, statism, imperialism, and militarism formed the various aspects of fascist ideology. In historical terms, fascism emerged against the depressing ethos of the post First World War developments. The traditional ruling elite initially facilitated it. Thereafter, it set out its own independent course of action, where the processes of totalitarianism handsomely aided it, at first attracting the socialist and nationalist forces to its fold. Fascism catered to political absolutism by singling out its actual and potential enemies and coercing them to a subject status. Once consolidating it, set out on an imperialist pursuit and joined hands with Nazism on the strength of its military process, which ended with the Second World War. The operational context of fascism saw the rise of a single party, centralization and concentration of power, and mass induction of youth in party affairs. Even after in 1945, as you have read in this unit, fascism has not vanished. In fact, neo-fascist outfits, particularly in Britain, alarmingly knocks at the doors of society and threatens the civilized inheritances there as elsewhere. So long as anemic conditions resurface and developmental processes get abused, the possibilities of fascist uprisings cannot be discounted. Fascism, after all, thrives on the sharp edges of socio cultural exclusivism. Here we want to wind up this lecture and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you so much for your attention.